Hey guys, welcome back. So this will be, we should dedicate a segment to the PlayStation 4.5, because that's one of the other things that is going to set the tone, I think, for this E3.
Yes.
The PS4 Neo is what I guess PlayStation's gonna call it.
Oh.
You guys can go ahead and feel free to start letting Becky know. She'll read your shit, I'll do my own research. Tell her what you know about it. Yes, hold it, because every so often you'll have to rebind this.
Yes, sir.
Because I don't have a long enough bumper to play the whole time.
An X-Bone Scorpio.
Yeah, well, let's start with PlayStation. The main thing that has been said about the PlayStation 4.5, or the Neo, is that it's going to output 4K. Whether that means that every game is going to be up-resed to 4K, like actually rendered at 4K, like you would on a PC when you change your resolution, or if it's just going to... It has to be, right? Because otherwise, who cares? If you're just sending out a 1080p signal and just like converting it to 4K, that doesn't help at all. Most 4K TVs do that themselves already.
I heard the VR thing didn't work on the original PS4.
So that's the other thing, is people saying like this 4.5 is going to be more powerful, but will still run PlayStation 4 games, but you'll need the 0.5 to run VR, is what I've heard.
Yeah.
And I don't know what's...
upgraded processing power.
Yeah, and a higher power version of its console. And it's already referred to it as the world's most powerful console. So, thing is, yes, VR does take a lot extra graphical capabilities, but from what we've seen so far from PlayStation, like the VR games that they've shown, most of them looked completely doable on the current hardware, because when you look at their top of the line graphical games like Uncharted 4 or what's it with the old guys with the guns that we just talked about that we wanted to go back to. It's a beautiful game.
Yes.
The Order.
Okay.
When you look at those and you just say that's possible, but also possible is a VR game with polys, instead of high beautiful graphic Is it not conceivable that something with the Superhot's graphics that could run on a PlayStation 4 in VR? Why not? Or Job Simulator that we've seen from PlayStation on many of their trailers. Why wouldn't that run with the current hardware? Yeah. And that's why I've always people have been saying they're gonna force you to use the Neo if you want to use the VR hardware. To me, it doesn't sound like that's completely true, because I still don't see why PlayStation 4 could run those games. Mm-hmm. And that seems to be the only things they've been showing, except for and that wasn't PlayStation. Unreal has shown some VR stuff that was mind-blowing. It's how the fuck could you run that in VR? Just that dinosaur demo where you're in the eggs among the eggs.
Oh yeah.
That was a VR demo and stuff.
Was that at E3 last year?
Yeah, I think maybe. But for that reason, I don't think that VR is going to be only on the new 4.5. I feel like the 4.5 will be, like they've been saying, to up-res games so that they can run in higher resolution on, and they'll have something built in, or maybe all games will be certain games will be updated to just run. And that's the same thing as
nothing is exclusive to PS4.5 besides 4K.
Yeah, and that's the same thing as running a game in 1080 on your computer and then buying a 4K monitor and just going to the drop-down and saying 4K now, and it renders the same game bigger. The only thing where that'll suck maybe is lower, you can't upgrade textures. You can output resolution of geometry better, but you can't do textures. Every 4 minutes you're gonna have to rewind it. Here, I'll show you.
Okay.
This is bad. This YouTube app is shit. After playing a video, it takes 10 seconds to be able to move the cursor again.
You can't just click one of the things to make it go back to the beginning?
It takes 10 seconds to unfreeze.
Yeah,
it freezes for 10 seconds.
But,
and maybe, speaking of which, maybe that's it's also going to become more powerful on the sharing. Maybe it'll that's my prediction.
Ooh, maybe.
It'll record higher resolution gameplay, because right now the shit they record isn't the greatest resolution, and it's not in 60 frames per second, which has become kind of ubiquitous among video gaming videos these days. And that's another thing. Will it run games that previously ran in 30 frames per second in 60 frames?
Yeah.
It could. There's no reason why, like, that doesn't require reprogramming a game to up frame rates. That's another thing that just happens on PC automatically.
That would be a huge hard drive.
For what?
If it records in 4K.
Oh,
That's...
I don't know if it needs to record in 4K, but that would be interesting. I just want it to record in 60 frames per second and at better quality.
Yeah.
And maybe make stuff like this faster that it fails at sometimes. And that's, I think, mostly the YouTube app's fault. I don't think it's PlayStation's fault.
So my question is, what do I press and
every so often you just go like this. You rewind it like this.
Okay, thank you.
And then you press X. There you go. Do you guys know anything else? No Neo exclusive. Yeah, that's kind of crazy, even the thought of it. If they're going to call it 4.5, that to me just says...
All games will have 2 graphic modes, original PS4 mode and a Neo mode for 4K.
There you go. So that's all that it is to it, and that makes complete sense to me. If they announced anything else, it would be surprising, but like in relation to a game. I don't think it's going to change the way you play games or look at games, besides it being up-res.
Yeah.
But, or a higher resolution, not up-res, that's a completely different thing. But, I was gonna say, oh yeah, but I do predict that they're going to announce new features, like better resolution and better quality video streaming, faster menus, faster everything, faster load times, maybe even with a better like hard drive components or whatnot, RAM.
Yeah.
Faster RAM could also help load times.
They did the same thing with Blu-ray.
Yeah, and that doesn't like change the experience enough that you could say it's a new console, obviously.
I've heard developers are annoyed with the new system because now they have to develop for both hardware.
Well, yeah, I mean, they have to test on both, right? Because even if the two basically work the same, there's going to be this outside chance that for some stupid reason, it's technology, right? For whatever reason, it doesn't run the exact same, and it's like, because
and
this
you can't just
one should have been a 0.
The 4K one.
Yeah.
And assume that
it runs perfectly. There's always gonna maybe, but why test? Why not just release it to the public and then patch later, like everybody does?
Money, it costs money to patch.
But I think it's extremely unlikely that VR won't run. No, it can't run. There's no way, in fact.
But
just I can't believe that rumor even got started that VR wouldn't run on old PlayStation. They already did pre-orders on Amazon for the headset. How could they do that if you needed a new system?
Yeah.
They would never have done that. So the fact that that even got off the ground as a rumor is just kind of mind-boggling to me. You guys heard anything else? Doesn't seem like there's much other info on Neo. PS4 Neo. You know, the sad thing is, altogether, the NX was the only thing I was excited to hear about this E3, and that's not coming. So there's very little for this E3 until it starts that I'm excited about. I'm hoping they show some killer games.
Yeah, me too.
So if that's it, then we'll break this segment. We'll come back to talk about what we don't know or should know about the new Xbox One, which is also a thing.